The time is now. We've got CIO from CGR Products, Steve Bartlett, with us, and Massimo. Going to have a conversation about Birst and how it's made a difference inside your organization. I'm going to go ahead, shut my camera off. I'll be here in the chat. Massimo, turning it on to you, and let's get going here.
Sounds good. Well, Steve, hey, appreciate again you joining us today. For anyone who is on the call today who doesn't know who Steve is the CIO at CGR Products. Did a great presentation on Birst, how it was able to help provide value to our company. Steve, before we get started, I mean, do you want to give any background? I don't want to take your thunder away of giving you the.
You take all the thunder you need there, man.
Well, so give us a little bit of background of your company. What do you guys do, and where are you guys located?
Well, I mean, we of course, we're in Upper New York, as you can tell now. Our headquarters is in Greensboro, North Carolina, and we have 3 locations, one in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and the other in Decatur, Alabama, outside the headquarters here. About 130 associates overall, and we are a fabricator. That's what we do. We don't make actual materials and things. We fabricate materials further to put them into things for gaskets. Pretty versatile in what we do and who we do it for, from the lighting industry to automotive industry to small engines to even crafts. We do some things for craft people. So for us, it's unique. Our part is not something that people normally think of, but it's something they need. And so that's CGR in a nutshell. We've been in business since 1963, and family owned, still family owned. So enjoy that type of business. I'm not sure, if I know any other things, because I've been here a little over 34 years now. So started when I was a child.
Nice. I was going to crack up every time you tell people that haven't met you before that you're from New York with your accent. So, this year has been interesting, right? 2020 with the whole COVID thing. What's changed in your role? I know, you've got kids that you care for at home. How has your life changed this year with 2020?
Well, I think overall as a company, within the company, my life's changed. We've, in the past, up until 2020, until COVID, we were always I always didn't trust people. I guess that's sad to say, but I didn't trust people to work remotely. And now COVID has twisted our arms to a point that we don't have a choice but to trust people. So how do you manage it? Managing that remote access, managing that remote work, and jumping through the hoops to get there. It was something that we needed to do and was the right choice. What it's done, we talked chatting earlier about the changes and being afraid of change, and maybe that was one of the things that me personally I had, and even our owner, there was some of those things that we shied away from it. There were certain parameters you had to meet to be able to work at home, unlike you and I, where we work 2 hours in the morning, we go to the office for 8 hours, and we work 2 hours at night, whatever. So that's not considered working remotely, I think. So that's something that we had to get used to. But what it has done is shown us that we can do it. I've even approached our owner and said, in the years to come, there's a road out here that they talk about coming through with, and if they do, they'll take the front of our building off, which is our offices. And I said, when we talked about what we would do to build new offices somewhere else or how we would do it, and we don't need to. Everybody has their own office now. We can work remotely. So it's changed our outlook, and I think for the better. I think we've made the best of a bad situation out of this COVID. If you can get any good out of it, that's probably the good thing that we've learned.
Yeah, I mean, change is always hard, right? I mean, and so when we talk about change, looking at a new BI platform, what motivated you? What motivated the owner to see that? I know when we came on site, one of the things we wanted to do was talk to you about it and show you the merits of it. But you obviously have been working in the Infor arena for a very long time, so you knew that was the platform. But what did we do to really persuade your owner and your your CFO to say that Birst is the right choice for you guys?
Well, we looked at Birst for 2 years, 3 years, or let's back up, about 2 years. We looked at IBI for a year before that. So when Birst was just announced, we had gone to the cloud, not a single tenant cloud, and we were still on LBI, which is the old system, and wasn't being updated, and we had to keep it on-prem, so it wasn't even in the cloud. So we pushed everything to the cloud, but we had to leave our analytics somewhere else. So we evaluated a lot of tools, and as we looked at the things, IBI just did not have enough additions or bells and whistles to create an ROI for us. And it's interesting at that point in time. This is pre-Avaap, but speaking to the gentleman who was working with us, they was really trying to push us to go to it because they wanted us in the cloud, the full cloud suite. I chose not to do that, and later on he told me, he said, well, it was the year that they were going to announce, Infor was going to announce Birst at Inforum, and we said at dinner the night before, and he said, you made the right decision because of this tool coming on. So the more I heard at Inforum that year, it was yeah, this is a tool for us. LBI was good. It did what we needed it to do. We're still doing what we need to do, but it was not progressing. It was not taking us further down the field of the technology. And where Avaap fell into that is we started interviewing at that point. We weren't sure. We couldn't get to the right pricing with Infor. That's a totally different scenario. We worked through that path, but we started really interviewing. And I think you and I at the next Inforum, you and I and one of your other associates there sat down and had a conversation about it. And really that was probably the point that I was sold on Avaap. From there, don't get the big head, but your knowledge. I felt like you had a lot of knowledge, and that you brought a lot to the table and your group. But I interviewed other consultants, interviewed some of the folks from Infor, and actually one of our account manager from Infor. After we went through and we had discussions and all, and we decided that Infor is Birst is the way we're going to go. And I told him I was thinking about you. He told me himself he thought that was the best choice too. So you had a lot of a lot of people voting for you, but overall I was happy with what I seen. I was happy with your conversations, your knowledge, your architects with Sal and you guys, and how it was done there. So I think that's how we come to choose Avaap, and I think it was a good choice.
Nice.
Not just because you're on here.
Don't worry, I won't pressure you later to find out who your favorite work is. I have some Subway coupons here.
There we go.
They might be expired, but no, they have some weeks left. But you got to come to Florida to use them, I believe.
There you go.
So when you look at what you've done with Birst, was it an easy ride? Was it a hard ride? I mean, can you describe the process of how you guys went through? I mean, like from start to finish, what would you tell to another customer what to expect, right? Because this was a new product to you guys, so you didn't know what to expect. Did we help you set the foundations on the ride there so that, it would be easier for you? Or, was there any trips or volleys that you figured out?
Well, I think you did help us. Again, I thought you had the knowledge to start with, which is why we chose you. But the thing that I guess I was impressed with, one of the things, if we want to give some accolades to Avaap here, and you deserve them, the days that you came in, as you said, you and Sal came in and we were going to go through where we were headed, what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, and these types of things. And I had thrown a lot of stuff at you. I had pulled a lot of data out of LBI. I pulled a lot of reports out of LBI, and I said, and this is what we're doing, and this is how we're doing it. Because, and I'll jump ahead, one of the mistakes that I made is probably not being on the next version of M3 going in there. That's probably at this point, I may have taken that step. If I look back, I may have taken that step prior to taking the Birst step, but I would have taken the Birst step either way. So, and for the sake, but the thing that was pretty interesting to me, like I say, it said a lot to you. And after day one, you probably remember this. You and I were, and so we're in the little Shark Tank over there, and our owner came in, Chuck Keeley came in, and he was saying, and he kept asking a lot of questions because he's very technology savvy, and he understands the M3 system probably as much as any president or CEO of a company would. So, but he asked us some questions, and we start throwing things together. You guys were far enough along that we could actually put some data in to the system, pull it out, create a report to help us discuss that day on an issue that he was struggling with, an idea, and I don't remember exactly the number of lives, something to do, but why a price was going a certain way. So it assisted us that day, and I thought, well, these guys did get it. They did listen. They did understand what we were trying to get at. So as we talked, and I'm not easy to understand, so I know that's tough. So I was impressed with that, with how that first day went. And as you know what the rest of the visit was. But, so those are some of the things that I think was the positive that I grabbed out of it, and what Avaap did to help us get there in the process. Now, again, I told you one of the issues that I think that I probably, or one of the mistakes I made, and there's probably several other mistakes that I've made through this. But overall, I've pressed you guys a lot. You've always seemed to come through for me, and you're still coming through. We're not 100% there, and as everybody knows, analytics is it's a very fluid product. It's very fluid area that we have to be in, and it changes as we talk about again. Changes. We want something next, and our guys, we're a small 130 people, $30 million company that wants to act like a $130 billion company. So we want everything they have too. So that's where we are with Avaap and analytics. So.
Yeah, and when you talk about going live, I mean, I probably have told this to a million people, but when you go live, you're really never live because you're always adding more content. So, I tell people like, well, you have how many reports do you have in LBI? You probably have, let's say 500 or 1,000. On day one, you didn't start with 500 or 1,000, right? So it's an ongoing tool to enhance what you have, right? And it's all about just being able to see a problem and make a decision off of that. And I think when we were there, we had talked about, that your team was actually running numbers and knowing that you had a problem, right? There were certain things that, hey, my guys in the back are saying that they're not busy, yet we're not seeing that in the sales cycle. They're saying I think they were busy, but we couldn't figure it out. And I was like, what we were talking about is that you guys would be running your numbers a month after it happened and then identify that there was a problem. And instead we were saying, let's use Birst to show that, right? And so I think that was one of the things we did do for your group, where we got, a team of your CFO, your CEO all in a room. And very quickly in that same week that we were there, I think we dumped a bunch of data in the system, just showed them what the power of Birst was capable of doing so that they can make a decision. Because I think, when we look at everything, I mean, when we talk about the benefits, I think one of the ones you've told me in the past is that you make quicker decisions now and see a lot of that data much more clearly.
We can, and we do, and you're correct. One of the startups to fill out and see what we could do, reports that were written and dashboards that was written that few days you were here to start out, we're still using today. We've added to it. We keep adding to it, so it's still there. We didn't get rid of it. And the good thing about that is, as you say, I think with Birst, what it does is in LBI we had, as you said, 15 reports that did, this one does this, and this one does this, and this one does this. And with the dashboard that we have, it's all in there, and we sit in one fell swoop. We see all the dashboards that we want to see. It's updated, right now we do details at night, of course, so daily for the majority of the things that we do. So it's, we have the filters set. That's probably the thing there, that our users can run their own reports now. It's not, well, let's go back to IT, let's go here. So it's helped us to keep the IT costs down. New programs that we kicked off, bringing in other databases. I think you helped with the OFI, what we call the OFI, and we're talking about change again, opportunities for improvement. And everybody at CGR is, we have 100% participation. So how do we monitor that? How do we know we have that? Well, because we have this database, because they're putting it in, it's there, and we can monitor data, and they can see it. So it's not just this day and time. The data is not just for the big cat sitting up here in the in the executive offices to review and go back and snap whips. It's for everybody to make sense of, and it needs to be when you get down to levels like mine, it needs to be dumbed down so that we can understand it. And I think it's done that for us.
Yeah, and I do remember once when we talk about some of the benefits, we found out that some of the data entry on your team was also like incorrect, where the report in LBI would show them something and they're like, oh, and I think when Sal was working, architecting something, we noticed the difference and we couldn't figure it out. And then it turned out that you were saying that I think your team was not doing something correctly. And so I think that was one of the other benefits that, if I recall, you were telling me that was something that was really helping to fix some of the processes that you guys were doing to make you guys more efficient.
It is, and it was, and that was on an on-time delivery report, and you're correct. So we had guys who were going back saying, well, that wasn't really late. So they were editing data, and then we're pulling data out, so they're manipulating the system. But Birst is telling us one thing, and their reports and what they're bringing to the KPI meetings is telling us something else. And so needless to say, we found the issue. And now we're all on board. So yeah,
I do recall that, because I know that you had some, they put in their reasons why there were some issues with certain things. And I do remember that was one of them. I was like, Steve, I can manipulate it just like they can. But I mean, the issue is that you have a problem. The data has been found versus showing you that. And now someone has to make a decision, is it okay, or does something need to be fixed, right? And I think that was something you guys were able to identify. I'm always the bearer of bad news for some reasons, because, when we put data together, we're just trying to find what's going on with the company to help you make better decisions to fix things. And I think, you were saying, hey, there's a problem. And I'm like, yeah, I see the same thing you're seeing. And then we were able to identify the real issue.
And some of the other things that we have struggled with over the years through LBI and pulling data out, and this is another one I think that you worked pretty hard on to help us get there, was the labor hours and labor hours, and how many hours are we reporting versus how many hours there, but then are we taking out breaks, and are we taking out meeting times, and and that type of thing, set meeting times, and we just struggled with creating that and getting that data there, and what we have now, my guys, the reports were there, and they looked at them for a month or two, and then they quit looking at them. And I noticed that they had quit looking at them. So the good thing there was, now we just went in and set it up to automatically send them the report into their email on a weekly basis. So now it pops up in their, so they can not look at it. They can get to a point where they can say, well, everything's good, I'm not going to look at it. But then you can force them to look at it, I guess you'd say, because it's one of those things that we think is important, that we do. So, but it was easy to do, I guess, is the thing. The ease of use in some of those things. It is an analytical tool. It does take setup. It does take people of your caliber to assist to do it and understand what's going on. But these data models and these things, once it's set up going, it seems to function and makes it easy enough for most users to do it, to use it, and to integrate other databases and sources, to overlay that data with each other so that we can compare data from different databases.
Yeah, and I think one of the nice things too, when you look at the reports, the idea behind reports is that you shouldn't have to look at them all the time, right? You're looking for problems. And so when we look at a report, we in your words, dumb it down, where we consolidate some of that data. So when there's a problem, we show that, right? And so if everything is working perfectly, then great. You just want to make sure you have a process so that if there is a problem, that's when you take action. And when there's nothing to do, you're able to see that. But instead of spending time looking at a 50-page report, you have all that data consolidated and then see where those problems are and be able to drill down. Taking this a step further, what you just said, you're able to combine data from other database systems, right? So how has that been helpful for you guys when you're combining data outside of Infor?
Outside of Infor, one of the big ones is our, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, our OFI program. And we have a database built that we store this information, and we have it out there. The number of opportunities that are entered by people, how many are being worked on, how many are completed, who reports to who, which managers, how many in that group, what's their numbers and all. And what we've been able to do is pull data from there into Birst. It's in the same layout and main dashboards that people can look at, and they can look at on a daily basis, and again, run their own reports. It can even be used as a management tool now for department managers and lead people to go in and monitor, see how far along are these people getting, because again, it's a major initiative by our company, and prior to Birst, we didn't know. We knew how we were going to monitor it, but we didn't think it was the best way. When Birst come along, we were able to pull this data in, create the dashboards, run them out. So it's helped us to monitor and maintain that system a lot easier. I mean, it was a little painful getting set up because we didn't know what we wanted or how we wanted it. But once we got there, it's again updated. This one can be updated every twice a day now. So it's good for our guys. They can look at it and they're watching it. They're watching the data. And again, that's not the CEO or the CFO or me or someone looking at this data. It's the guys out there on this, the lead people, it's the shipping managers, it's the people of that nature that's looking at it, which makes us a better company. I mean, it just overall makes us a better company. It makes it easy enough to use. And one thing we're planning to do, we have not done, as I say, it's a very ever-changing, is we have a piece of software that we've been using for 2 years in our sales and marketing, and our customer service uses it. And we talked about remote work and how we can monitor what's going on there. Well, that tool and that software is something that we moved into, and we did it probably 8 to 10 months prior to we're going with Birst. And as we started looking, we said, let's get everything else done, but we can do away with this software, and it's a subscription-based software also. So therefore, we're going to migrate all of this database and this data into and create this within Birst to get the same thing, and probably a little better. It has a 90-day lifespan, where Birst can have 9 years lifespan if we wanted it to. So that will reduce our cost overall, because we'll be doing away with that software, which is quite a bit of money a year. So it'll wind up being part of the ROI for Birst.
Yeah, because I think also when you look at all these other applications, you probably weren't using the same tool to get all that data, where with Birst, you can use the same tool, grab all that data, even blend the data, and then not even have to, not have to maintain multiple systems. You're a small organization. You can't afford to have multiple tools. You don't have the bandwidth to handle multiple tools. So this helps you consolidate all that and be able to thrive.
When you have a small IT department like we do, you either contract it all out and pay more than you should, or you find other ways to make it integrate and go where you can handle it. And I do think that Birst has helped us do that, and goes right along with how we like to operate.
Very nice. Do you have any upcoming projects within Birst in the next few months?
The only thing that I'm looking at, if I can find the time, is the one that I mentioned. We're going to start moving this sales and marketing tool and reports and data, and start creating those dashboards and all inside of Birst and hopefully, what is this? This is September, probably first quarter of next year. Hopefully we can say, okay, we're off of this. We're off of this software. We're getting our reports and our data a different way, and managing how our customer service team is doing through Birst versus the other software.
I thought for a minute you were going to say the budgeting stuff, because I thought that was also on your list.
Yeah, well, budgeting's on my list, but I'm leaning on my CFO, and right now he's not ready yet.
All right, fair enough. And that's always the case, right? When you're in IT, the project that always comes up first is the one that's the person's yelling the most, like, I need this right now, right?
Yeah. But the budgeting is, we'd love to be there on it and all, but we have it coming out a different way. We do, as you well know, in our sales and our budget numbers, we've put the budget based off, but the budget's built and then put in from Excel, pulling from a different database. So it is being put in on top of our sales and all at this point, and how to monitor it, but not broken down the way that I would like to see it broken down from within Birst. And we will get there, but I didn't want to bring that one up because I have to bring somebody else kicking and screaming along on that one.
Baby steps, right? You got to take one. And I think that's probably one of the best benefits of the Birst tool, right? Is that you were able to go live without having everything done. You were able to pick and choose which ones you wanted to go with first. And then when you're ready, you can add on to those things, right?
True. That's what we will continue doing, I promise you.
Awesome. All right, well, we're running low on time. So, my last question, I think it's for all the marbles. I've got these Subway coupons for you if you wanted to tell me who your favorite employee, who your favorite person was you were working with. I'm just joking.
Oh, man, my favorite person with Avaap?
With Avaap, yes.
Oh, okay. You guys are also great for me there. Massimo may have to be.
Sharon.
Sharon's not on the call, so we can say Massimo today, right?
All right. I'll tell her, though. I told her I was going to make sure he said your name, so her name.
Yeah.
Melissa, we have any questions from the crowd?
No, we did get one. And I do want to say, Steve, that I'm going to keep in touch with you because I'd love to hear more about the sales and marketing dashboards and how you're using them and the success that you're having with them. We're obviously as a marketing professional interested in being able to measure our impact and success as well. Somebody asked me about, they sent me a private message, so thank you for doing that, about what benefits do you anticipate, down the road in the future? So, maybe, give me a look out a little bit and what you anticipate being able to do with the tool, as you're moving forward.
Well, I would say that the big things are there is to continue to hand off some of the IT work, which is the biggie for us. I mean, you can grow your IT team. I'm not originally from an IT arena. I'm a management, sales, and management type person, and I did production management for many years with CGR because I've been here forever, but and moved into the IT role over time. But one of the things that we do, I see a lot. I was always amazed when I went into these companies and they'd say, well, we have 12 people in our IT department, and they're maybe a little larger than us, but I'm going, my God, that's half my manufacturing. What are you doing? So I think to keep it at that level is what we want to allow Birst to do for us. If it does that, it keeps it down because it's giving us the data, and I want it to also give us the data in a more efficient manner, and let people do with it what they want. We did a lot of crystal reports that we used through LBI, and we produced them out through LBI. And you can kick me off here anytime you get ready. We created those reports that way. And then what would happen is everybody always want to put it in Excel because everybody knows Excel, so they want to manipulate it. Well, when you do crystal that way, we didn't find a good way to do that. And it was ugly reports, and it was a lot of work. At this point, they can set the filters, they can do the things. So what we want to do is put more of this filtering and reporting and getting this data in the user's hands, not IT's hands. That's where it probably needs to be. We'll make sure the system's running. You get the data you want out of it.
So one last question before we switch it over to our next presenter. But, now that you've implemented Birst, and, we started our conversation today when we were chatting before your session, about change and everybody, kind of needing to be open to change, and that it's just one of the things that we deal with as business professionals, as human beings, really. But now that you have Birst in place, maybe talk a little bit about, were you trepidatious beforehand and feeling more comfortable now that it's established?
I think Birst is sold as a tool that is the silver bullet. It's going to knock every monster down that you want to knock down, and it's going to do it with your eyes closed. Well, it's going to knock a lot of the monsters down, but you're going to have to leave your eyes open to shoot at them. So that's just the way I feel about it. Is if you know what you're hunting for, I think it helps you get there, and all. But it takes a little more work than the way that it's presented, but I don't know that there's anything that Infor has ever sold that is not that way. It's a great tool. Don't get me wrong. So I think Infor is a great product. I just not trying to knock them, but that's just the facts, the way that I feel about it. So no, I feel comfortable with it now. It's coming along a lot more comfortable. But I've got you guys holding my hand, so when you quit holding my hand, I may not feel quite as comfortable, but right now I do. If I can learn it, anybody can.